Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Srideep, I'm a junior doctor in the UK, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 2 of my favourite tips to do really well in medical school interviews. So I was really lucky to get a scholarship based on my interview performance at Imperial College London, and medicine as it is extremely competitive. You have to do something to make you stand out, because everyone's prepared really well, especially at the interview stage. Everyone's put so much time, so much effort into preparing for that interview to get that place in medicine at that university. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 2 of my favourite tips that helped me get that scholarship and helped me get that place in medicine. I know 2 tips might not sound like a lot, but I will be going into a lot of detail with each tip so you can take these tips away and put them into practice and use them straight away to help your interview performance. And I will be making like a part 2, part 3 because I've got a lot of tips to share, but I don't want these videos to be like extremely long and tedious. So before I start with my first tip, please do give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. I've got a lot of videos coming up to do with, medical school applications, being a junior doctor. So if you like this kind of content, please do consider subscribing. So tip number 1, dissect each sentence of your personal statement. So you need to know your personal statement inside out. For those people who don't know what a personal statement is, it's essentially a body of text which describes you, why you want to do medicine, your sort of passions, and your skills that will enable you to stand out and to be considered as a potential candidate for studying medicine. And at the interview stage, apart from your grades, the personal statement is really all the interviewers have about you. It's a reflection of who you are, and they can ask you any question based on your personal statement. So what I want you to do is to get your personal statement and split it up into individual sentences. And to start with, take your first sentence in your personal statement. So here's one I made earlier. My passion for medicine began during my work experience placement in surgery after I saw the impact of knee replacements on patients' quality of life and the multidisciplinary approach in performing operations. So I mean, it's not a great sentence, it's not my finest work, it's not a bad sentence, it's just something I wrote a few minutes before recording this video, but it's mainly to show you what to do with each sentence of your personal statement. So now we've got our 1 sentence, we're going to think of every single question the interviewers can ask from just this 1 sentence. So in this sentence they've discussed about a multidisciplinary approach, an MDT approach. So the interviewer can easily ask you, why is an MDT approach important in medicine? How have you demonstrated that you can work as a part of an MDT, as a part of a team? And the sentence is about surgery, so they can easily ask about the impact of COVID-19 on surgery. The sentence also says, my passion for medicine began with this, so they might ask you, what were your career plans before you had this work experience, this sort of enlightenment? Also, more academic interviews like Oxbridge, they can ask you more detailed questions. So in this case they talk about knee replacements. They can ask you about anatomy of the knee. They can ask you about very basics, but the basics of a knee replacement operation that you saw. Because the interviewer is going to think you've written about a knee replacement operation that you've seen, so you should be able to talk about it. I prepared exactly how I told you, by going through each sentence, by going through each point, scrutinising every single word I'd written. In my personal statement, I've actually lost my personal statement, so I don't have it, otherwise I'd show you what I'd written. I talked about hip replacements and femoral fractures, that kind of thing, because I have someone in my family who was affected by that. And they asked me about public health policies in reducing the risk of femoral fractures. And I was so much better prepared for that question because I'd done what I'm showing you today. And so I think I answered that question well, and I got a scholarship from that interview. So what am I trying to say? I'm basically saying do this with every single line of your personal statement, and then you're sorted for any question that they throw at you based on what you've written in your personal statement. Tip number 2 is to read the news on a daily basis leading up to your interview. So they can easily ask you on things that have been in the news recently, on recent medical discoveries, on recent health issues. So you can choose to watch the news, which takes quite a bit of time, or you can download an app with notifications for example, BBC Health articles. And then each day skim through all of the articles so you have an idea of what's going on. And I recommend you to do this for 2 to 3 weeks before your interview. So if they ask you a question, you're aware of, the gist of what they're asking about, and you're not caught by complete surprise. So let me just give you an example. So I like using the BBC News app, and I've gone on the health section. So currently, obviously, every every bit of news is on the COVID-19 pandemic, but when I applied for medicine, there was a lot of different things going on in the news, like stem cells. So what I'd recommend is skimming through all of the topics available on the news, but learning about 2 of them in depth. So you can still do this now with the COVID-19 pandemic. So for example, you can focus on vaccine development and vaccine research, or about the current efficacy of measures to control the virus, that kind of thing. So as I said, go over all the topics in the news related to health and politics over the 2 to 3 weeks before your interview, and focus on 2 topics in detail that you can talk about, and start a reasonably lengthy conversation in detail. Because usually these interviewers, they'll ask more open questions. They won't ask about a specific article in the news because it's not fair, because not everyone would have read maybe the news on that specific day. They'll ask you what you want to talk about. They'll give you an opportunity to speak. So they might say, tell me about something you've read in the news recently, and then you can talk about your 2 detailed topics, you know, any one of them. Or if they ask you more of a specific question, then at least because you've seen the news for the last 2 to 3 weeks, you can sort of say something instead of saying, I don't know. So at my interview, they asked me this exact question, that tell me about something you've read in the news. And then I talked about stem cells because there was a news article about stem cells a week before my interview. And that conversation went on for a few minutes. And I was able to express my feelings and talk to them and have a good 2-way conversation, instead of just saying like 1 sentence about an article that I've read and just stop there. So okay, I'm going to end with a bonus tip, which is use online forums. So I used forums like the Student Room a lot during preparing for my interviews, because it really gave you a flavour of, you know, the interview process, what students felt like. Obviously people aren't going to divulge information about the questions asked at the interview, but it can really give you a sense of community with the other people applying, and it really helped to boost my confidence going into each of the interviews. Because especially now people are at home, you know, studying from home, preparing from home, you're not really getting that social contact at school that we had back in the day. Because it was a really sense of we're all in this together when I was at school, that everyone would prepare with each other, help each other, and now it's more difficult because obviously of the current restrictions. So going on forums like the Student Room I think will help a lot. And you know, if you dig around a lot on these forums, you can actually find out a lot of information. So that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will have more videos in the series of my tips for doing well at interviews. I just didn't want this video to like go on for a really long time. Please give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do feel free to write a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you have any video suggestions, let me know and I'll do my best. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.